What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Skews Day to you. It's June 13th, 2023. I want to start with a rest in peace to Appalachian literary legend Cormac McCarthy. Passed away today at the age of 89. Got to say, pretty good run, I reckon. I'm Trey, and that's Mark. How you doing there, Mark?
Yeah, I'll take 89 instead of whatever's behind door number one.
Mhm.
The irony is, I wanted to prep like a good news show, and then
Yeah.
Cormac McCarthy died. So it's like we got good news. We got
Well, he
yeah.
had a quote about how death is only hard for the living. I'm
Mhm.
obviously I can't just do the quote, but it was something like the dead themselves are far beyond death. It's the living that have to deal with it. And then he says something like, "Nothingness is not a curse, far from it." So I think he's cool with it all.
Yeah, I remember when my dad died. My mom insisted on getting the most expensive casket, and I was like, "This is
Hmm.
this is for you, Mom. Dad doesn't
Hmm.
care." Yeah, I did a little bit of fun news. I resurfaced an old story where his ex-wife, I guess, got in an argument with her boyfriend about aliens. Like, she believed in aliens and he didn't, so she hid a gun in her pussy to pull on him during sex. And I was like, uh,
Yeah,
congrats to Cormac McCarthy for finding a real one and also getting out at the right time, I guess.
yeah. That old chestnut,
uh,
a tale as old as time. Gun
yeah.
from the vag during an alien argument. Who among us?
What a life, man! What a life. Wrote The Road, married a crazy woman. Wrote No Country for Old Men. Great, fantastic movie. I never read the book. But let's get to the good news before we get to the show. The main good news, which is Trump getting indicted and MAGA world sort of losing its power and influence, and Republicans, some of them anyway, pivoting away from him. But we'll be whatever. We'll see. But this is a good bit of news. This headline, New York Times has to frame everything fucking bad. Energy tax credits meant to help U.S. suppliers may be hard to get. Okay, but the good news in here is we're poised to create millions of good wind and solar jobs. The Inflation Reduction Act, bad name for a bill that does a lot of good shit. Tax credits will create demand for 4 million additional wind and solar jobs by 2035. That's 5 times as many solar jobs and twice as many wind jobs we've had without the IRA. There's 3.7 million jobs in solar, $0.4 million jobs in wind. These are high-paying union jobs that the
Yeah,
government created.
but
Good,
Mark,
yeah.
at what cost to the lives of birds, right? How many birds are going to explode as a result of this? I don't see anybody talking about that for some
You know
reason.
what?
Sure, jobs are good, but exploding birds,
Too
I
many
don't
people
know.
are afraid to say this because they're in the pocket of Big Bird, but fuck
Mm.
birds. Uh, they wake me up in the morning when I'm trying to sleep in. Uh,
I
so
did. I had a breakfast or brunch or whatever with some friends here in Burbank this morning, and a little bird landed on our table, and everybody's like, "Oh, check him out, whatever." And then he started eating one guy's toast off of his plate. So,
yeah, my mom was visiting out here, and we did, we drove up to PCH, and we stopped for, lunch at some like beachside restaurant, and they had a big sign up saying, "Please don't give French fries to seagulls." And my
Mhm.
mom goes, "Oh, but come on, they're cute." She threw one French fry on the sand, and then
Yeah,
1,000
yeah,
seagulls came out of nowhere harassing
yeah,
about the restaurant.
yeah. I don't know if you have to give them to them or not. I think they'll just take them. Seagulls, they take what they want. Sometimes I think I saw a video of a seagull walking in a store and stealing a bag of chips, and just walking out.
Yeah,
So,
my wife and I were down at like the Santa Monica Pier when we first started dating, and there was like a pelican. And I had no idea before this, but apparently I am deathly afraid of pelicans, and I think rightfully so. Uh, they are frightening birds. They're humongous. They got giant chompers. They will kill you and eat you. And I do not apologize for my healthy fear of them. But yeah, anyway, these are good jobs that it can't be pushed offshore, and that's great. Inflation's down. The Inflation Reduction Act works. People are working. The economy's booming, and all you're going to read about it is bad fucking news. Yeah. So
hmm.
anyway, yeah. All right.
Why does the Times frame it as they might be hard to get? What's that part about?
I don't know why they frame it that way. Yeah, it's a new industry. The permitting is hard to figure out, but permitting reform is one of the things they were fighting about the debt ceiling fight, which of course Republicans want if they want more oil and gas leases, but also you need to permit this stuff faster too. The government is like can get out of the way a lot of this shit, and we'd be better off. Some of the regulatory stuff we can't get. I-95 bridge collapsed in Philadelphia, and they're saying it'll take like years to replace it. It's like China will build like 300 miles of high speed rail in like a week. It's like,
Right.
Just fucking do stuff, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Producer Matt is with us as always. This is Weekly Skews. Before we continue, I do want to remind you guys of a few things. Of course, number one, if you'd like to see me perform live, and I really hope you do, go to TreyCrowder.com, check out all my upcoming dates. Got a whole bunch coming up in the latter half of 2023 and going into 2024 as well, coming all over the place. So you should come and see me. In the process, TreyCrowder.com. Get your tickets now. Number two, and more me doing stand-up news. My special Damn Boys available on my YouTube channel for free. It is. That's right. You can get it by just going and clicking. Check it out. Watch the whole thing. Enjoy it. Laugh your butt off. Tell me how great it was. Or not. If you just watch it and like it, that's fine too. You don't have to tell me anything. But I hope you'll check it out. And then lastly, if you enjoy this program and would like to show some support, you can do so by signing up on Patreon. You go to weeklyskews.com/more or go on Patreon and look me up. Either way works. $5 a month gets you access to full-length bonus episodes. We just did one last week. We do, a couple of months. We cover things we don't get to in the main show, things that come up in between, just stuff we want to talk about. We do Q&As on there, a lot of fun stuff. We're having fun with it. We hope you will consider checking it out and supporting the show. So that's weeklyskews.com/more. All right. As for the show tonight, we're going to be joined shortly by Chief Legal Correspondent Drew Morgan to discuss all things indictment round 2. That's right. The former president has been indicted for the second time, this time for 37 federal counts, which I'm no lawyer, but seems like a lot to me. Luckily, Drew is or was a lawyer, so we'll break it all down a little later. But first, quickly, let's do a daily dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's DD, anybody who missed the Bolshevik tanks rolling through the streets. That's right. Tell us about it, Marge.
Here they are, the Biden administration, arresting really their top political opponent and enemy. This is a communist country. We've been taken over. It's not the America that we all thought that we had. We're not a free country anymore.
Oh, Trey, do you feel less free than you were yesterday? We all feel less free, right?
I'm always maxed out on freedom, buddy.
Yeah, I wanted to get right into it because there's a lot going on in this fucking these indictments. I remember there was a viral tweet the day of Trump's inauguration. It was like, "Welcome to the dumbest day in the history of America, only to be surpassed by every subsequent day." Mm-hmm. Everything is so fucking dumb. This is about. Let's look at this picture of what this all is about. This is a bunch of boxes in a bathroom. If you have this picture, Matt, it's this picture of a bunch of top secret documents stacked up in a fucking bathroom, a bathroom that has a chandelier in it for some reason. You can't, for however this picture is cropped, you can't see the chandelier. The toilet's too far from the wall. I can't, look at that lighting fixture behind the toilet. Like, you're just going to like sit there and read the payload specs for a B-2 stealth bomber while you take a shit and then go back to like a tacky wedding buffet. What is the point of any of this? And this is like, everything is, all right, so let's get to today. All right, so Trump was indicted on 37 counts, him and some aide named Walt Nauta, he's the guy who apparently was cleaning the pool and flooded the server room. Same guy. He used to be in the Navy. And he worked at the White House as the mess hall. So he had a nice career in the Navy doing like non-combat shit, working in like the White House as a cook or a food busser or something. And he gave it all up to do federal crimes for Donald Trump to be his personal valet. The charges included willful retention of national security documents, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and making false statements because he just lied to the fucking cops to their face over and over and over again. Trump pleaded not guilty. Didn't have to take a mugshot because everybody knows what he looks like. Then he went and got some Cuban food at a restaurant where everyone sang him happy birthday because tomorrow is the big boy's birthday.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't actually see it, but I heard in that Cuban restaurant he started bitching about like immigration or something like that. like the country's borders or something, while in a Cuban restaurant where people were like praying for him and stuff like that, to be fair. So everything is pretty dumb. Also, I want to backtrack just a little bit. You called up that picture, and it took producer Matt a second to get it up there. Want to take that opportunity to let everybody know producer Matt's under a little bit more pressure this week because we found out before the show he's staying at his parents' house temporarily, and his parents are watching right now and worried that he's going to screw things up. Evidently, that's what he told us. They worry about his capacity to get the pictures and videos up there in due time, and we're watching, to quote his mom, watching it like NASCAR just to see the crashes. So howdy there, Mama and Papa producer Matt. I hope you're enjoying things, and we think that your boy's doing just fine. Anyway, back to you, Mark.
Shout out to producer Mama and Papa. Thank you guys for watching and for giving birth to producer Matt, and for allowing us to fuck with him, because that's always fun. But like, again, nothing happened to Donald Trump except he had to fly to Miami and go out for lunch after making a brief stop at the courthouse. The judge didn't even allow cameras in the courtroom or audio recording. So basically it looked like a produced motorcade parade. So like, it didn't even look bad for him. But this is how it's been processed through right-wing media. If you got this video of Mark Levin on Fox News from the day the indictments came down.
They're throwing all these process crimes and all these crimes that grow out of the criminal investigation against Trump. What did he do with the documents? Did he sell them to the enemy? No. That's why we have an Espionage Act, not to trick up a president. What did he do? Did he burn them all? No. The government has all the documents back. So there is no
they don't. They don't. It's a lie.
At this point. But they throw the book at him. They go after his attorneys. They make them testify.
So it's like this guy seems to be accepting the fact that he had documents, right? Because it's all
right.
Like, what did he do? And sell them to foreign powers? But first of all, don't know that. You know, and he's like, did he keep them? No, he gave them back, like you said. Don't know that either. It seems, you know, at least some are still missing. But like, at the very least, he left them laying around the bathroom and stuff, which I'm pretty sure still counts as something you're not supposed to do with highly classified national security related documents. So I don't really know what this guy's so upset about.
If there isn't a spy agency in the world who hasn't bought a membership to Mar-a-Lago with petty cash by now so they can walk around and talk to the most gossipiest fucking dude on the planet, I would be stunned. They should be fired for incompetence. It'd be the first thing I would do if I was any foreign spy agency. But that's not even the point. They're freaking out like Trump's getting like treated poorly. He's already received so much preferential treatment. One, he was not charged in any way for the 197 documents that he stole but returned voluntarily. That's another way in which he makes us all fucking stupider. Chuck Grassley, Senator Chuck Grassley, said he hasn't written the indictment because he's not a legal analyst. By the way, he's previously chaired the Senate Judiciary Committee. Things cannot keep getting dumber at this rate. I'm going to fucking die. Marco Rubio, whose main argument in the 2016 primary about why Donald Trump shouldn't be allowed to be president, which is that we couldn't trust him with nuclear secrets. He was proven right, but instead of taking the win, he's come to Donald Trump's aid saying this is like a political prosecution, which absolutely, again, he got extra deferential treatment. He's been treated like, when I say he got like preferential treatment, when I'm talking about like, they're going all in for this guy. A bunch of them are. Some of them are pulling back. We'll get to that in a little bit. But like, this is a guy who's now been arrested twice as many times as he was elected. Mm-hmm. And they still won't let go of him. Lindsey Graham, one of the Sunday shows, made the rounds, and he was on the verge of fucking tears. Now, talk about how we're stuck, and we're stuck being stupid as long as this man's alive. Listen to Lindsey Graham talk about this case.
Donald Trump has said repeatedly that he did nothing wrong. Do you believe that?
Well, here's what I believe. We live in an America where if you're the Democratic candidate for president, Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, you can set up a private server in your basement to conduct government business. And when an investigation is had about your activity,
all right,
no, let me finish.
You got it, Matt. So
Lindsey was just getting started, Mark. He was fired up.
Why are we talking about Hillary Clinton in the year of our Lord 2023? Like, what fucking time warp are we trapped in? But if we want to talk about the actual facts here, Hillary Clinton was careless with classified information, but her behavior wasn't nearly as like consciously criminal, nor was the information as highly classified. For one, I looked it up. The most seriously classified materials in Hillary Clinton's possessions, emails, was a mismarked call sheet containing biographical details of the incoming president of Malawi, whom she was calling to congratulate. So, a lot of stuff is overclassified, right? This is essentially the incoming president of Malawi's Wikipedia page. That's what she had in her
Right.
emails. That's the most serious thing she fucking had. And most of the classified materials she had were news articles about drone strikes. Why they would classify that, I have no idea. Probably so they don't want the media knowing that they're tracking what drone strikes they're reporting on, which is fucking awful to contemplate. But like, I was thinking a lot, talking about this, like, both Hillary and Donald Trump did get special treatment because anybody else would have been thrown under a prison for this. I remember that my buddy's wedding in but like that's sort of like baked into the democratic process, because if these people are elected or appointed to these positions, they're given all this classified shit to keep track of. There's sort of like a baked in idea that they're going to like lose some of it. Like Joe Biden and Mike Pence like did find classified documents at their home residences. They voluntarily turned over and they realized they had them because like, oops, we're not supposed to have this shit, which is what's supposed to happen is you just like, oh, I fucked up, I gave it back. What Trump did was refuse to give it back, give some of it back, lie about not having given all of it back when you really kept some. Then the FBI said, no, we know you have more of it. He fucking got this Walton Ayuda guy to move the boxes around so the FBI couldn't find them, including flying them back and forth from New Jersey to Florida to keep them hidden. All right.
Right.
But it's time to my, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, yeah, the idea that, like you said, it's kind of baked in. Oh, you could fuck up. Oh, didn't realize I had that or whatever. But then you realize and you just give it back. There's a whole other level of, I mean, it is bad that he had them all, but what's really bad is that he like had them, knew it, was told he wasn't supposed to have them, continued to keep them, gave some back while keeping others, and then also just the way he conducted himself in regards to the ones that he kept, which we'll get to a little bit later. But on that note, Drew is here. We'll go ahead and bring him out and just have a three-headed dragon for the rest of the show. What's up, Drew?
Hey guys, I was in black and white backstage and I was very nervous, so I'm glad to see myself in color here. I thought perhaps my phone knew that I was in the rural South and thought, well, let's take it back to the 50s, just like they do with voting.
I was going to ask where, so you're back home in Morgan County. What's the climate like there?
Oh, Drew? Buddy, pandemonium in the streets, celebration everywhere. There was a parade earlier. Everyone is so relieved that the orange man is behind, but no, honestly, no one knows. That's the funniest part of this. My father-in-law was watching Fox News all morning. The lead story, I'm not kidding, the lead story was the Oklahoma women's softball team won the World Series, and the lead story was that they gave God the glory. I am not, that's not hyperbole. That is literally what it was faith in sports, giving God the glory. Oklahoma World Series champs, and they had some milquetoast white girl on there who could probably hit a long ball talking about how Jesus was the reason that they won. By the way, they haven't lost in 9 years.
Oh, hell yeah. Congratulations to the Oklahoma women's softball team.
And Jesus.
and Jesus.
Yeah. Jesus is always newsworthy. Okay. But anyway, go ahead.
We wanted to have Drew on because Drew's not just a lawyer. He's also a former defense lawyer. He also worked in the Miami Public Defender's Office. So he has experience, and helping criminals get off in Florida, which is an important theme of this episode. I was about to tell Trey about this high school classmate of mine. I was hanging out with at a buddy's wedding in must have been 2016. And she went on to work in the CIA. From context, she couldn't say what she did, but like doing overseas shit. And she was really, really mad about Hillary's private email server, not because of politics. Her politics are probably center left, but because she was just like, I would fucking go to jail for like 1,000 years if I had done that. And she's probably not wrong. Just like Donald Trump, if I got caught with like nuclear secrets in my toilet, I'd be fucking under a prison. But he's not, and they're still crying about him getting like the two-tier justice system fucking him specifically, and it's driving me insane, right? These people cannot stop crying. Like we have a one-to-one case here. Reality Winner just got out of prison fairly recently. She put one she was a security worked for a private contractor, defense contractor, who went outside the scope of a security clearance, look up documents on Russian election interference, and she found some evidence that Russia trying to hack like some local voting precincts. She mailed that document to The Intercept, a publication, and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. When she was arrested, she did not get released on recognizance like Donald Trump did. She went directly to jail and was never released until she'd finished serving her sentence, which ended up being like 4.5 years. So fuck anybody who thinks Donald Trump's being treated unfairly. He's being filleted by the criminal justice system after being caught. Anyway.
Drew, I wanted to ask you just generally, because Mark said you were at you were public defender in Miami specifically. Obviously, this is like a singular case. It's literally unprecedented. I get all that. But like, and also it was years ago when you were there, but like, just based on your knowledge of that region and the justice system and the courts and whatnot, like was it pretty okay? Was it corrupt as hell? Like, how did it stack up American justice system wise? Were you like,
yeah,
fuck this place, or
obviously at the federal level? So Trump's being indicted in federal court. That's its own ecosystem, for lack of a better word. But Miami-Dade itself is of kind of the Wild West when it comes to the court system, other than maybe Orleans Parish. I don't personally know of what I would call an unhealthier situation in terms of the courthouse, police's relationship with the public, judge's relationship with the public, judge's relationship with the police, prosecutor's relationship with public defenders, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we were taught and trained to be cowboys. And what I mean by that is it was like, fuck you, we're going to trial because you're all corrupt, you're all overworked, you're all dumb, you all got your jobs because of who your daddy was. And Miami is just that kind of place. Whereas then I came to Knoxville where I was a public defender and they had to kind of scale me back because I was kind of like, fuck you, fuck the prosecutors, fuck the cops. And people were like, hey, they give us good deals here and we have a healthy community, so maybe don't do that. So I can only comment on the state, but at the state level, yeah, Miami's pretty fucking corrupt, dude. I mean, you got a lot of different players down there, and obviously there's a shit ton of money. Anytime you got that going on, I mean, who wouldn't want to be a judge in Miami? So, yeah, corruption's huge. At the federal level, though, I can't imagine it's any worse. I would say it doesn't even stack up to Manhattan in terms of the power play. You know, it's where you kind of go to fuck off into the sunset. It's not where you go to be involved in shit.
Yeah. Another element of this, I didn't realize, I'm not sure when they made the decision to indict him in Miami. It appears to be so they can keep the DC circuit. I mean, obviously for jurisdictional issues, because like Trump's team could appeal if they convict him in the wrong venue. But there's an argument to be made that he also committed the crimes in DC because that's where he stole the documents from. But I think they're also like keeping the deck cleared so they can use the DC as a venue for the whatever J6 charges they have coming, which is the real thing that the tea leaf I was reading here.
Well, I think that's probably true, but also think of what his defense is going to be. One of them is going to be that these weren't classified by my own desire that they not be classified. He's going to have to prove that he took some steps to do that, but any of those steps would apply in DC. They wouldn't apply post-presidency, which is so there's almost like a hypothetical framework that we've got to imagine in our minds. And it gets a little boring. I was hoping to come on here and talk shit on Donald Trump, but I guess we do have to go through the minutia of this stuff. Like the moment he stops being president, he's supposed to return those. The moment they say, hey, return these, he's definitely supposed to return those. You're in Florida when that goes down. So that removes a chunk of, or makes harder for him to get at a chunk of his likely defense. So I think that's the other reason they did it.
Gotcha, because the conspiracy charges all took place in Florida. It makes sense to me. But like all that being said, like all the stuff Trump did, right? If he had done nothing to if he did nothing to comply with the various efforts to recover the files, still lied about having them, but just let the feds take the documents back after during one of their many attempts, there's basically zero chance he gets indicted. He could have done everything but have that Walt dude move the boxes. And he fucking wouldn't have caught charges. This is like absolutely fucking insane. But like talking about Trump's defense, he's on recording saying, waving documents around, being like, "I would show this to you, but it's still classified."
How'd they get that? Do we know how they got that
Yes.
recording? Is it
Yes.
gonna stand up?
Yeah. He was giving an interview to a guy who was writing an autobiography of Mark Milley. Autobiography of Mark Meadows. All right.
That's so
And
funny. That's like the one law school exception to everything that you would be able to throw. It's like, wait a minute, you're telling me that this dude was talking to the press?
Mhm.
This dude was talking to a writer, and it's on. He probably put in writing somewhere that
So,
this dude can record him.
It's also
Yeah.
not just that he said these are classified. He specifically said, I could have declassified this when I was president,
Yeah.
but I didn't, and now I can't. So this is still secret. So he literally kind of just like spells it out in this
Yeah.
recording they have, evidently.
if I was his lawyer, I'd probably kill myself. This is like so.
Well, they've
fucking
come close
funny.
to it. They've all like jumped
Right.
off the ship, and
Well,
and,
two
you
of
know,
them
he can't keep
resigned the
lawyers.
day he
Yeah.
got indicted, which is wild because
Uh-huh.
that's very touch and go in terms of lawyer ethics. You can't really abandon your client just because the case is hard. So I don't know. You know, that may be the least of Trump's worries. I think only Trump could bring that bar complaint. But I found that hilarious and very interesting. Just like,
Yeah.
excuse us, Judge, we're off the case. Okay, what grounds? Did you hear what he said in the interview, Your Honor?
Yeah. So yeah, two guys resigned the day the indictments came down, like hours before they did, but they obviously knew they were coming. One of his main lawyers resigned a month ago, has been all over CNN talking about what a dumbass Donald Trump is as a client, how dysfunctional the legal team is. Another one of his lawyers, former lawyers, is the main witness against him because Trump tried to engage him in the conspiracy. He basically instructed this guy to like hide documents. The guy quit. And the state and the Department of Justice pierced the crime fraud exception because the reason he quit because Donald Trump was trying to get him to participate in a crime, so there's really no defense there. But yeah, they tried to get this article right here in the Rolling Stone says they tried to recruit Alan Dershowitz to take over as his lawyer in this case, and he turned them down. This is a guy that represented O.J. Simpson pro bono and flew around with Jeffrey Epstein. He's like, "No, I'm not doing this shit." But sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask Drew. So that you mentioned a lot of the evidence is coming from one of his former lawyers who he tried to get to participate and the guy didn't want to, whatever. I also read an interview that Trump gave. He was lamenting all this, saying that either he said it used to be this way or it should be this way or something, that lawyers aren't allowed to be witnesses or take part in like a case like this on account of their lawyers. Drew.
Yes.
Is that true?
100%. That is true 99.99999% of the time. The only time an attorney can be part of the witness team for the prosecution is when you try to get the attorney blatantly to help you cover up your crime, not defend you, not like, hey, I did this. Here's where the body is. What do we do? But hey, the body's over there. Will you go move it?
Mm-hmm.
And even then, in many states, that lawyer doesn't have to tell on you. They just have to say, all right, we're done. I can't be your lawyer anymore unless they get subpoenaed. And then they get subpoenaed and they call to the witness stand. Now they have to spill the beans. That's going to cut like 7 ways, though. And something that we talked about on the Well Read podcast when we touched on it briefly is that to prove that attorney-client privilege doesn't exist, they're going to have a lot of hearings behind closed doors if this goes to trial. The pretrial hearings are going to be a nightmare. They need someone as smart as Alan Dershowitz. They're not going to find him. It's going to be some dipshit at Dipshit and Dipshit LLC. And they're going to have all these in-camera, like just the judge hearings because they're going to say this is all privileged. And in case it is privileged, they have to hear it in private. Here's the flip side of that. The prosecution is saying these are all classified documents. Well, in order to win their case, they're going to have to prove that they are, in fact, classified documents. And that's going to take slightly more than just someone saying, it says it at the top, Your Honor. It's going to take a little bit more than that. That's also probably going to have to happen in private because the public cannot, by definition, hear these. That's the whole fucking point of why we're having this trial. Some attorney knows that they'll be able to cause a quagmire, knows that they'll be able to make their bones, knows that they'll be able to be a talking head forever and the hero to some of these other dipshits, but also knows they're not going to get paid, also knows they're ultimately going to lose, also knows they're going to have an insane fucking person as their client driving the ship. That's the other thing about being a defense lawyer in this case. You gotta kind of do what he says. And like I was saying, Mark, on Well Read the Trade, like I wish I could be his lawyer so fucking bad, because I would literally just do whatever he said to do. And I would be totally fine ethically as far as the bar goes. My client wanted me to file this saying fuck Hillary Clinton as a motion. Your Honor, we as a defense moved to fuck Hillary Clinton. This is not appropriate. Judge, I tried to tell him, but I had to give my client the zealous defense here. So it's going to be fun if you are a masochist and you don't have any positive feelings towards America and her future. This is absolutely the swan song of the end of this great democracy, and we got a front row seat to it. It's really, really something else.
See, this actually is one of the. I don't think we'll get to the punishment phase. I don't think Trump's actually going to. He's not going to fucking jail. He's just going to be miserable.
Mark, it's so hard to fathom them finding him guilty of this and him not going to jail. Like, I hear you. I haven't read the statute specifically. I never thought he'd be indicted. What you just said is part of the reason why. It's not that I disagree with you in my soul or as a social studies guy. Like, socially, the way politics work, you're right. But looking at these charges, I literally don't know how you find him guilty and he doesn't go to jail. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure probation's an option at the federal level for this. Is basically fucking treason. Like, I don't know what the specific charges are. There may be a way to put him on probation. And if there is, I agree with you, they will.
I saw some white collar lawyers saying technically this is Trump's first offense. Even though we know he's a big career criminal, but he's never been convicted of anything.
First offense of what, though?
Anything.
No, but I mean, what is the charge exactly? He is being accused of. Go ahead.
Conspiracy to obstruct justice, willful retention of national security documents, making false statements. There's 37 total counts, but I'm more thinking logistics of putting a former president in prison. Like, I just don't think the government has the capacity to do that unless they block out a whole wing of a supermax.
Then they're gonna have to. Then they're gonna have to get him to take a deal where that second charge you just mentioned is not on there. I could be wrong, but I think that it's hard for me to imagine that when you go read the statutory punishment for that, that the minimum isn't jail time.
I do want to before we move on. His former lawyer's testimony is all over the indictment, so I feel like they've already pierced the crime fraud exception. I know they could appeal it, right, and try to take it to a high level of judge to try to get that taken away. But I think they've already done that. But you said the next lawyer is going to be a huge dumbass. They've already found him. There's a guy named Chris Keiss, and his notice of appearance. This killed me. You're talking about how you're not supposed to be able to quit just because the case is hard. His notice of permanent appearance on Trump's behalf included this last clause. Fee disputes between counsel and client shall not be the basis for withdrawal from misrepresentation. Trump made him agree that he can't quit just because he doesn't get paid.
I mean, that's amazing.
That's mostly why he's refused to pay a lot of lawyers in the past. Not just lawyers, fucking contractors, just anybody in general that works for him. But he's got a track record of that.
Lawyers, contractors, Mexicans, fucking people who fold his sheets, people who do the deals for him, probably people who worked on The Apprentice, the people who make his shirts in China. Yep, the people who fuck him. He don't pay, but he does make you famous, and that's got to be what this whippersnapper's goal is. I imagine this is a young person. Mark, do we see a picture?
No, I haven't looked into his background at all.
My guess is 40s. My guess is his suits fit too tight. Just if he is based in Miami. What are we reading here? Walt.
Well, so I actually wanted to ask you about this guy.
That's sad, dude.
Okay, I was going to ask you about this dude specifically. So Walt Nauta, however you say his name, is this former Navy guy who worked as Trump's aide or whatever, and he's the dude that moved all the boxes around back and forth. He also drained a pool into a room, which destroyed a bunch of evidence and all this shit or whatever. But I wanted to ask you,
call that the Panama Canal.
Yeah, this dude, I'm sure, probably did know but
draining a pool,
right. But if you're, and maybe they're just charging him because they already know that. I'm just wondering if you work for someone like Donald Trump, in this capacity as like a porter and whatever else, and he tells you move those boxes from there to there, and those boxes contain all this classified information, shit like that. Like, is normally that a problem, or is like they've got to know this dude was like operating on a higher level? Like,
there's more element here. The feds had questioned him, and he lied to the feds moving the boxes, and Trump had instructed him to lie.
Okay, well,
that's the conspiracy part of this.
Okay,
I mean, it's definitely going to be easy to prove he's part of the conspiracy, but I would say their main goal is to get him to talk. You know, you file the charges, you threaten him with everything, and then you're like, all right, or you can be our second star witness, and that's going to get interesting because I guarantee you, he has a non-disclosure agreement. And there's some, I don't remember the case law, but there's some interesting case law on whether or not that you can claim that if you're being asked to testify in a criminal case. I think he's going to have to testify, and then Trump's going to later sue him for going against his NDA, which is also funny.
If he doesn't flip, the government doesn't want him. If he doesn't flip, he's a fucking moron. But going back to the lawless stupidity of this, the judge today instructed him to not have any contact with any witnesses after Nauta, or whatever his name is, and Trump were seated next to each other in court. They left together, went to lunch together, flew to Bedminster together, where they're doing a fundraiser this evening where other witnesses are in attendance. All right? So judge instructed him not to contact witnesses, and he's throwing a Wall witness party with his buddy Walt.
This judge is really in an interesting situation because obviously this is one of Trump's appointees and they have a career that they want to keep and maybe keep going. And there's going to be a lot of powers that be that want him to do certain things. But also Trump and Walt apparently are just like literally flying right in this judge's face in terms of fuck you, we won't do what you told us. And that's going to be interesting. Judges don't like that.
The main case, they drew Eileen Cannon again, who's the same judge who tried to fuck this case in the beginning by appointing a special master for the documents and trying to stop the government from investigating. She's a Trump appointee. But the judge today for the arraignment was a different judge. I don't know that person's background.
Well, whoever it is, they have the power to hold them both in contempt, which is what they've done.
Right.
That's what crime they committed today.
Yeah. They're just doing more fucking crimes the day they got to... Okay.
And potentially witness tampering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just doing it.
What's going to be hilarious is if Walt is mic'd up right now so that they can get him on another one. Now that would fucking rule. If somebody was like, he's going to tamper with this guy, let's just let him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, on that note, like we mentioned, a lot of the cases against him are built from like his former lawyers and stuff. And if this dude flips, and others talking about like Mark Meadows flipping and stuff like that, and they call it, the opposition, calls it a witch hunt and everything, but a lot of the evidence and testimony is going to be coming from people that work directly for Trump. But I guess their rationale would be like, yeah, but they have a vendetta against him because he, whatever they couldn't handle how patriotic he was or something.
This is not look, innocent people do get railroaded by cops forcing their friends to turn against them, but Trump's not like a corner weed dealer. All right. Like, I even hate the fact people using allegedly in this. The government would not come for a former president who might be their boss again in 2 years if they didn't have all the T's and I's dotted.
Man.
T's crossed. So, like, the idea that, like, they wouldn't pull the trigger on this without fucking having him dead to rights is, like, extremely silly to me.
No, the only time people lose federal cases as on the prosecution side is when their evidence gets thrown out. And they have an overwhelming amount here. It's not going to happen. He's going to lose, which I can't believe I'm saying that because I just didn't think anything like this was going to happen a year ago. That's where I get back to the jail thing, though, Mark. Like, he could still be their boss, especially if he's out, because he's allowed to run, which I'm sure you guys have covered. So all this is wild. This is completely unprecedented. I think the people who are up in arms, the fair-ish gripe that they have is that Hillary Clinton did break a law. And it is sort of similar to Trump's. She didn't do it repeatedly, blatantly, nor say on tape that she was doing it and continuing to do it. I'm reminded of that movie Grown Ups, where Paul Rudd's girlfriend has that client, and then he's like, "That's not me." And then on tape he goes, "I can't believe it's me, John Jones, committing a crime in a way." And it's like, it's that freaking blatant. So,
I mean, dude,
my point is, morally, these people, if they want to talk about, like, if you feel aggrieved and you feel like the media and everyone skews to the left too much, and Hillary's evil and part of the Illuminati, nothing about this will dissuade you. I get that. But the other side of that is, yeah, but she is a better criminal. This is part of why she would have been a better president. She accidentally committed this crime. The one she did on purpose, we don't fucking know about. This dude committed this crime on purpose, told a fucking writer who was writing a book. This is why I can't believe they think he's smart. He is the dumbest motherfucker ever, but he keeps winning. So there is a part of me, it's like Brady when he was down 21 at halftime against the Falcons, and people were like, it ain't over yet. He's Tom Brady. Donald Trump is the Tom Brady of getting out of shit, so I will see.
Yeah. Well, like you said, he told something to her, he confessed it to a writer, but he did that on tape, on the record, but like reportedly, he was just showing everybody that came through all of these and like bragging about that was like
too hard.
That was apparently his whole motivation. I'm sure he probably sold some of these and did whatever else too. It wouldn't surprise me, but like reportedly, he mostly was just like
trying to hit
people in there and being like, "Hey, check this shit out. That's pretty rad."
Right.
Yeah, I can't let you read that. I know you'd like to. It's top secret. That's why. But
his only crime is hitting too hard. I agree.
All right, so hold on. Like, just like Matt, I know we're jumping around a lot, but let's go down to the motive section because like he was, as far as I can tell from the indictment, just hitting. All right. So this is the headline I'm reading right now. Trump's messy bragging is all over this indictment. Like, give me a quote from the indictment here. It's like highly confidential, he says. The tape. This is on the tape that was recorded. It's like highly confidential. CNN reports the tape captures the sound of paper rustling as if Trump was waving a document around. Secret. This is secret information. Look at this. He says in the transcript. You attack and then the transcript cuts out, presumably because they cut out the stuff that was classified that Trump was telling the fucking reporter about.
Well, like, that's funny because one of my hypothetical defenses that Trey asked me to give some defenses when we did Well Read was, well, I would argue with the tapes, he was lying. Like, he was just waving some papers around trying to get his dick sucked. Like, oh, these are classified. And then he'd be like, yeah, Trump's the consummate entertainer. Were you not entertained by that? But if he's literally reading them on the tape.
All right, so in that scenario, if that was the case, then the government fabricated evidence against him because they recovered a bunch of top secret shit that he had. All right.
No, I'm not talking about them fabricating evidence. I'm talking about on the tape. It seems like he's doing it, but his defense is, yeah, I wanted the person I was talking to think I was doing that, but really it was just some resumes or whatever. But what I'm saying is even that very goofy defense, which is pretty paper thin, won't work because apparently he's not just going, see these are classified. He's then going, I mean, look right here. And then he's reading them.
Yeah.
I used to defend 13-year-olds, and they were better criminals than Donald Trump. They would put their crimes on Facebook. They would tag the victims, and they were better criminals than Donald Trump.
But he's just been like, he's been the same guy his whole life. He's never really gotten in trouble for any of it.
Right.
He's gotten away with all of it, like you said, his whole
life.
life.
I like him. He never changed.
And now he's a former president on top of that. Like, of course, he fully believes that he could just do all this shit and nothing will ever matter. I mean, hell, honestly, why wouldn't he believe that? But,
This is like,
well,
let me quote here. Like, okay, this headline says showing off was Trump's motive. And I tend to generally agree from what's in the public record so far. Like, this person's talking about the New York Times said that federal prosecutors, quote, did not supply a motive for Mr. Trump's actions, but described incidents in which he appeared to be showing off the material. That is the fucking motive. That is the fucking motive. And he's just a fucking petty dumbass. Even on Fox News, here's the positive spin. I'm saying his motive was just to show off. If you have this video, Matt, this is Byron York on Fox News from earlier today.
Yeah, it's actually quite simple, guys.
This was right after.
One theory about why the former president did keep this stuff. There are two possible reasons. One is souvenirs. He really liked mementos. His office in New York's filled with them. And the letter from Kim Jong-un would fit into that. He was really he was taken with those letters that he got from Kim Jong-un. He read them to people in the Oval Office. He thought they were quite amusing.
So yeah,
just sitting in there looking at just like, this one reminds me of the time we almost bombed Iran. That really takes me back, doesn't it? Like,
Drew, if I take a diamond necklace from a jewelry store and say I just like to keep mementos, am I therefore not criminally liable?
No, I don't think I can get you out of that one. Maybe if you work there and the owner let you have it for a little while, but even then, it's touch and go. I think that you touched on it earlier, Trey, and you did just now a little bit. It might have been Mark. Somebody was talking about some of the things the people running against him brought up. Rubio, all the people who ran against him, they would say things about Trump in the primaries like he's just not fit for this role. He simply is not presidential. This is where we're at now. That alone is not a crime, but my point with that is this dude literally can't not keep these things. Like as Mark said, he had every opportunity to just give them back, and he was like, but they're mine.
Right.
He can't, his brain's, it's really wild. His brain is genuinely unique. I have to give him that. It cannot fathom that he don't get to keep the letter from Kim Jong-un.
But it wasn't. It was also a war plan for let's get to the war plan for invasion of Iran, because we talked about that in a previous episode, but there's no context to it. But the context here is hilarious, because what had happened was, because the ego thing cuts both ways. It's not just showing off; it's also like a psychic defense, like protecting his own ego, thinking he can't not hit. All right. So when he was talking to the Mark Meadows biographer, the context of this, before we get to reading this in a second. There was a story at the end of the Trump administration with anonymous sources said that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, had warned the Defense Department and commanders in the field to not follow any illegal orders coming from the White House, because the White House was so fucking chaotic and Trump was going crazy. And the context of it was like Milley was basically saying he was worried that Trump was going to order an invasion or a bombing of Iran to sort of wag the dog as part of an effort to stay president. All right. So what Trump was doing when he was talking to this writer was you can put that back up, Matt. He's saying that it wasn't my idea to invade Iran. Here's a military plan to invade Iran they made. They gave it to me. Let me read this quote, Trump. This was done by the military and given to me. I think we can probably, right? Staffer, I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to. Trump, declassify it. Staffer, figure out, yeah. Trump, see, as a president, I could have declassified it. Staffer, yeah, laughter. Trump, now I can't, but this is still a secret. Staffer, yeah, laughter. Now we have a problem. Trump, isn't that interesting? All right, so...
Dude, as script writers, there's so much going on in those parentheses with the laughter. As an actor, it's just like, what kind of laughter is that?
Yeah. Nervous laughter. He's showing a writer a plan to invade Iran, which again we talked about it previously, but like they have plans to invade everybody. They're planning to invade all our fucking apartments. They're in a list somewhere. It's not proof that Trump wasn't dangerous with regard to Iran, but he's making himself the subject of a federal criminal indictment to push back on a 3.5-year-old news story everyone already forgot. But he remembers because it's petty beefs all the way down. So you follow order of events with Trump's personal beef with fucking Iran. He scuttled the Iran nuclear deal. He postured frequently about attacking Iran, scaring his own generals. He ordered a drone strike that killed an Iranian general named Qasem Soleimani, who was a huge national hero over there, which was such a crazy action that Mossad repeatedly turned down the opportunity to kill fucking Soleimani. And Mossad is infinitely more crazy than the CIA. So he got offended. Then he got offended the generals were afraid he might invade Iran. But then he got a hold of a top secret standard Iran invasion contingency plan, and he stole the plan to settle the score against Mark Milley. All right. We're so deep into Trump lore that no one understands it but Trump. God.
So I wanted to ask Drew a couple other lawyer questions about this, or at least one. Like you said earlier, it's like if they convict federal cases have like 98% prosecution rate or something crazy high like that. They've got all this evidence. You're like, if they convict him, I don't know how you give him probation with something like this. But on the convicting him part, one thing I'm curious about from your perspective, like there's going to be a jury, right? Like how do you go about that? Because I know one of the things they said about this Cannon lady who's his appointee and is a lunatic herself, like she could fuck with the jury selection process, knowingly putting people on there who are like, wearing red hats in court and, whatever else. But like, how do you approach that anywhere in this country? Like,
all right, listen, First of all, the whole jail thing, I should have been more clear. I meant if he won't take a plea.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason for him to take a plea right now, is if they say, we won't give you any jail time. And it would be the logical thing for him to do, because then he can play the victim without being in jail and can run for president again and then pardon himself or whatever the fuck he's got planned for that. But because it's Trump, because he's so petty, he stole a document to win an argument that was 3 years old that no one else even remembered, he might go to trial. That's a nightmare for everyone. If he loses, and that's what I meant earlier, I can't imagine him not going to prison if he loses at trial. I don't think you can force the state or the feds to take you to trial and then expect probation at the end on this case. On the other side, to your point, Trey, it just takes one.
Right.
It just takes one fucking juror, and he has a right to a trial by jury. The state cannot decide to do a trial by the court, by judge. It just takes one fucking juror, and they can literally just go, not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I don't think he did it. And that's it.
Right.
So wrap yourselves up in that tonight. Everyone who thinks the orange man bag go away.
If you, it's funny to me that like we're across the Rubicon moment in a lot of ways, because like at this point, both the government and Trump are in a weird box. Because you're right, like any plea deal Trump would be offered would probably include an agreement for him not to run for president.
I don't know if they can do that legally. I don't know how they could.
Sure they can. But the thing is,
I don't know how.
If Trump accepts that deal, but then still runs, the government goes back and prosecutes him. But then he can rightfully say he's being politically prosecuted for running for president. See what I'm saying? So like, this is a hugely weirdly complicated situation. But just to get for the record, the charges, he's being charged on the Espionage Act, and the Espionage Act charges face each defendant for each charge faces a maximum sentence of 10 years. They're not going to sentence consecutively. I guess it'd be concurrently, whatever they did. The tampering and concealment charges, these carry a maximum prison sentence of 20 years.
What's the minimum?
I mean, minimums go all the way down. I didn't see a minimum. But like, these are 37 charges. So anyway, the
reason I'm asking, Mark, is there are some federal laws where probation is just not even allowed.
Right. I mean, like he would plead down to a lesser charge, though, right?
He could. Yeah, that's what I was saying. If he makes them take him to trial, I should have been clear earlier. I can't imagine him not going to prison. He should take a plea, and that's exactly why I don't think he's going to. And this is why he's the Tom Brady of committing political crimes. He is down 30 at halftime, boys. But it literally just takes one juror, one Rob Gronkowski juror catching 4 touchdowns over the middle, and my man is back in the game.
Maybe he just knows that, or is banking on that. Like, good luck putting a jury together that doesn't include at least one person who's, a Trump lover or whatever. I mean, God knows. I mean, I'm sure he's convinced that he could never actually go down for this. But,
buddy, the more I'm thinking about it, I think I could win this fucking case. I'm not even. I
mean, it's a lottery ticket, right? Because you said you got to get 12 sane people will be like, obviously he's guilty and vote.
Voir dire.
Yeah,
it's all one of voir dire is when you pick the jury. If this goes to trial, that's the whole fucking case right there.
Right.
And I don't know at the federal level. In Florida, you can only strike 3 apiece. So if there are 4 MAGAs on there, there's nothing you could do as a prosecutor. Mm-hmm. You're losing.
Can we, before we get out of here, I wanted to talk about because there's going to be so much.
He's going to fucking walk.
But then he's got to deal with the J6 charges in D.C. with the D.C. jury. I don't like his chances of finding a MAGA hat there. So I want to talk about the Espionage Act for a second, because there's going to be a lot of bullshit around this trial, and the right has become really good at adopting like left-wing postures when it comes to like stuff like specifically the FBI and the federal government. Like, for example, the agent provocateurs they think started January 6th, which is fucking ridiculous. But there are agent provocateurs, and they do infiltrate political movements, just not theirs. But so the Espionage Act is largely a lot of bullshit. It was passed in 1917. It's mostly been used to crack down on like whistleblowers, leakers, and left-wing political agitators. Like, for example, like Corey the other day was asking us, like, how come a felon can run for president? I'm like, well, it's good that felons can run for president, You look at the people that have been convicted under the Espionage Act previously. Eugene V. Debs, who ran for president 5 times as a socialist, once got 6% of the vote, ran a bunch of those times from prison. The stuff he was sent to prison for included protesting the draft during World War I, and he was imprisoned for leading a railroad strike under the guise that he'd interfered with the mail. All right, that's fucking bullshit. Daniel Ellsberg was prosecuted under the Espionage Act for releasing the Pentagon Papers and would have faced like 100 years in prison for trying to get the word out that America knew we were losing the Vietnam War, and they were pushing forward anyway because they were afraid to admit that we'd lost. And he was didn't die in prison because G. Gordon Liddy robbed his psychiatrist office and plotted while inside the White House to murder Daniel Ellsberg. All right. The government just didn't want to prosecute. They wanted to throw the case out because it made him look bad. But Trump's not being held to account under those theories of the law. He's being charged under a straightforward part of the statute that just says you can't steal government documents and keep them in your fucking bathroom. All right, this is not that. It's not a political prosecution. End of my fucking rant about the Espionage Act.
Man, I personally had 50 on Mark bringing up G. Gordon Liddy, so I got to collect that. Yeah, dude. The fascism in America, what's so scary about it is it's not like iron-fisted murdering people, and that would be scarier, and that might be what's coming. But it's how adaptable and good at PR it has become. And that thing you're talking about, Tucker Carlson made a career and a fuck ton of money doing it, which was co-opting anything the left does or claims and applying it to your guy. And now they're just doing it, trying to make Trump seem like some sort of victim. But it's already working. I mean, that's been working for years. That's what January 6th was about. Trump's been a victim even when he was the president. He somehow played the victim. Being able to be the bully while playing the victim is the most lucrative thing you can do in America right now. Trump's going to keep doing it. He's great at it. And I'm sorry, it took me this show to decide it, but I think Trump's going to walk. He's going to force him to go to trial, and he's going to win the trial. And there's nothing we can fucking do about it. And there's nothing we can say even. It's like, did he get a fair trial? Yeah.
Well,
I don't really care if he walks. I just don't want to be president again.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Katie Coffee Mug says no one thought the grand jury would indict either, just not fretting about that one juror.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see what happens. Mark, before we get out of here, Mark, I just want to ask for a quick update from you, though, on his followers and how they treat him in fashion on January 6th and all that. I was led to believe that today would be the start of Civil War Part 2, right? Or another Civil War.
Right.
I want to ask what actually happened there before we leave?
I had a whole section that, just so the viewers can know the background here, I had a whole section that outlined about the scene at the courthouse today. So there's a bunch of worries about violence because people have like January 6th in their head, but January 6th was well orchestrated and planned, right? They had months to get ready for it. This indictment was handed down on Friday. Also, Trump doesn't have the juice that he used to. But people online were talking a lot of shit about let me read a couple quotes here. They were trying to find out the names of federal prosecutors and find information about their children and families. And on R. the Donald, someone said their children are fair game. I want blood. MAGA will make Waco look like a tea party. I'm buying more ammo. I want blood. I want fucking blood. But then the Donald, which is where January 6th was largely
fun.
planned. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Donald went down on Sunday while they were trying to agitate and plan, and nobody knows who did it. Anonymous said they did it. But also congressmen were threatening violence. But again, nothing happened today.
Right.
And
wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight.
Mm-hmm. There were 4 busloads of people who were supposed to come down for Orlando, but they only got enough people to barely fill 2 of them. Right. Of the people that were there at the courthouse, there's about 1/3 media, 1/3 protesters, and 1/3 vendors who were selling like a bunch of Trump merch. And also there's a lady there selling mangoes.
The MAGA mango girl. I know her.
There was one lady from Nicaragua who's hugely pro-Trump, who was walking around with an open cup of beer, drinking it and giving interviews and talking about a 2-tiered system of justice in America while she was freely public drinking. There was a guy there walking around carrying a pig's head with an American flag stuck in the mouth. No reason, no context. I know it's a real pig's head because it got discolored as the day went in the 90-degree heat. But even the 1/3 there of the protesters are there.
That
half
looks
of those,
so photoshopped.
right?
We live in such a cartoon fucking country now that
Yeah,
Jesus.
I don't know. I didn't understand why is Trump the pig who got slaughtered unfairly? Is it the pig stand for cops? I don't. Why is the American flag in his mouth? I don't know. But half the 1/3 of protesters there were counter protesters, which I don't know why you'd go down there to yell about Donald Trump's guilty. When I was like, somebody's gonna set off a fucking truck bomb. There was a lady there, a wine mom having the time of her life, and a shirt that said Antifa, and I was like, this. Oh, God bless this fucking country.
Well, good for
So
her.
she's touring. She's like the
Yeah.
Grateful Dead. She's like a deadhead, but for Trump indictments. All right.
Right. Yeah.
Well, maybe she'll
bet
have at least
she's
one more
fun.
to
I
go
hope
to
she's at
in the
Bonnaroo.
future. Yeah, well, I found it. I was pretty convinced it wouldn't be another January 6th, and that's at least something of relief that it went as somewhat comically as you just described, Mark. We're out of time. Drew, tell everybody like they should come see you and stuff, right? What do you want them to
Yeah,
look up, listen to?
Yeah, thank you. I will be in Fort Collins, Denver, and Boulder at the end of the month. That would be the 29th, 30th, 1st, and 2nd. You can go to drewmorgancomedy.com to find tickets. Come see me, Denver. I put $70 on the Nuggets. I won $700 because I did it earlier in the year.
Hell yeah. Go Joker.
Go Joker. But yeah, just follow me there. You can listen to Gravy Baby, the podcast I have with DJ and Carmen. If you're familiar with me, you know about that. If you're not, it's not political at all. We just talk about what makes us happy, which is mostly DJ's goat. And then Drew Morg comedy on all the platforms. Follow me. And yeah, if you're in a good mood today, great. If this is the best day of your life, fucking go to therapy. Like, he's the Tom Brady of getting out of shit. I'm just warning you guys, buckle up.
Right. So on that encouraging note, I'll also remind you, TreyCrowder.com to get tickets to see me, weeklyskews.com/more to sign up on the Patreon, get bonus episodes and support the show. And you can check out my special Dan Boy on my YouTube channel. That'll do it for now. We'll be back next Tuesday. See you in